a tree to be planted, then it's going to be a little bit higher price. The price of a lot in here is equivalent to our lowest cost flat marker lot in our traditional area. Okay. It's no different. And the interment fee is exactly the same. The same amount of work to open this grave as it is to open the other grave. And the lot price, again, it had to make sense as much as it had to make sense environmentally and philosophically and make sense to the public. It also had to make sense economically for the cemetery. It has to be fiscally viable, or we wouldn't have done it. That's just the case. That's just the way it is. And but it doesn't have to be like a lot of green things tend to be marked up. You know, you do a little bit of greenwashing, call something green, and charge a little bit extra for it. That's not the approach we took. We said, what's the real cost to us in terms of the land we're using, what it costs us to design it, develop it, put the plants into it. We still have to maintain it, even though we're not mowing grass every few weeks in here. We still have to make sure invasive species of weeds and other species of plants can't get a foothold in here. As trees mature or plants die, we will replace them. So maintenance is just different. It's just another way of maintaining the site. So the cost had to make sense.
Stephen, what does WorkSafe BC say about providing a shrouded body rather than a casketed body? Is there any regulation?
There's no regulation from WorkSafe BC, and that's primarily covered under the legislation, or the cemetery TIFSA, they're short. So, and as long as the body's enclosed, so it can't be a body on a board. It has to be enclosed in some sort of a respectful container. We checked that with the regulator, make sure that we're doing something okay. And shrouds are commonly used here by our Muslim community. They will often use a shroud. They'll bring the body out in a casket and then take the body out of the casket and put it in the ground. And as I say, there's been a few families use shrouds, but it's been very dignified. It's been handled very well and discreetly.
So the family handle the...
Yeah, they'll lower it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than the funeral home staff or
I believe the funeral home staff assisted in one of the when they used a shroud. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Steve, was that 2660? Did you say?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And 2960 with the tree?
That's correct. Yeah.
And you still get the body from the funeral home?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So you got 2660. It's going to be $4,000 anyway.
Well, I won't comment on what funeral homes.
Unless
but this was, and there's validity in the point I think Carol's getting to. This was never meant to be a cheap way to dispose of a body. This was designed to be a meaningful way to dispose of remains, to handle remains, and it's meaningful to the people for whom environmental consciousness is important. And the very first burial we did back in the corner there was, I think she was in her 90s, if I believe. And she lived her life so environmentally conscious in her mind. You can speak to her, but she didn't own a car. She grew her own vegetables. Her family told us that when she heard we were doing this, they said she almost waited until this site was ready so she could be buried. So it was, that's been the experience. Lorraine can talk more about it. She talks a lot more with the families. But the experience when you see it, when you see the families, it has so much meaning to them. And it's, I think another point to make is really important for everybody to hear. I've been saying it from the get-go when we opened, is that of all the burials we've done up here, probably 95% of the burials up here were families that said they wanted cremation. So the people that are using the site are cremation families. And we ask them, we say, well, and we've had people that had pre-arranged cremation and pre-arranged cremation plots with us. And And we said, why are you changing this? And they said, we always wanted to be buried. We just didn't want to be buried in the traditional way. We've done 30, this week we'll have done 30 burials in here since we opened. We're doing about 2 a month. Those burials have not affected our traditional burial system.
Steve, if I can just say something to put it into perspective, 30